Hello and welcome back. This is Candace from Candoodle, and today I'm going to be showing you how I like to make my full panel shaker cards without using foam tape. So let's get started. So we're going to start off with some watercolor paper. This is just the Canson XL 140 pound, and I'm going to tape that down to the clipboard that I like to use for watercoloring. I'm not being super careful with where I tape it because I am going to trim down the sides to make this into a card base. And I'm going to be using some liquid watercolors. These are Royal Talens Ecoline, and I have three sort of pinkish colors. I'm going to do a wet on wet technique, so I just coated the paper with some water, and then I'm coming in with each of the colors. So I started with red velvet at the bottom, and then I put some magenta in the center and carmine at the top. And I am just doing a simple wash to try and make the colors blend into each other. And I'm making sure not to overwork it, which I find I tend to always do with watercolors. And I am going to heat set that because I am impatient, but you could totally wait for it to dry. So once I am done that, we're going to move on to the coloring. So nothing special. I go from lightest to darkest, darkest back out to lightest, and I am going to have all of the colors listed for you on the screen. So a few things about this video. Number one, sorry that the lighting is not fantastic. I am still getting the hang of this. I used to film first thing in the morning, that way it was still pretty bright out, but I live in Canada and it is now the fall, which means when I wake up it's already overcast no matter how early it is, and it gets dark by like 4 p.m. So I'm trying to come up with a setup that isn't going to have any crazy shadows, but it is still going to be nice for filming. I might get some fancy lights, we shall see. The second thing is, do you like the coloring in card making videos? Do you like when people keep it in, or do you like when they keep it in and say fast forward to insert X timestamp if you don't want to see the coloring? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments because I genuinely am very curious. I always feel like it's a long time. Like, should I speed this up? It's already at 4 times, but should I speed it up more? Do you want it in at all? Let me know what you think. Would love to hear your opinions. One of the main YouTubers I like to watch is Kelly Latavola, who is now Kelly Taylor. She just got married and she puts in her coloring, but she also does like a bit of a story time throughout the card. And I absolutely love that because I feel like I know her. Like, I feel like it's a crafty friend, and I know I watch YouTube videos when I'm crafting. So I like to feel like I have a crafty friend who's crafting along with me. And then I also have the video playing in the background for inspiration. You know what I mean? So let me know your thoughts on that. Would love to know. But yes, that is those two little updates. And I also wanted to say that this is the My Favorite Things Call the Shots Digi-Stamp, which they had as a free download during the pandemic to make cards for healthcare workers. And today's card is actually going to my friend who is a nurse and also volunteers at the nonprofit where I work. So now we are going to move on to stamping the sentiments. I did take out my foam mat because we are going to use these Tailored Expressions birthday strips, which are a red rubber stamp. So you don't need your foam mat in your MISTI when you're doing this. And I'm just taking my favorite Gina K Amalgam Black ink and really putting some elbow grease into stamping that. And the lovely thing about these Tailored Expressions sentiment strips is that with the die you just line it up with those squares down the sides, and it perfectly cuts each of the little sentiments out, and this will last you for so many cards. So I'm just showing that there. And yes, that is a self-mending cutting mat that I used for die cutting. I am going to be doing a die cutting video coming up with some solutions that I have been trying out in my craft room. So now we are going to cut down the watercolor panel to fit on the card base. I didn't cut it exactly to the right dimensions at first because I wanted to make sure not to lose any of that purple or red color. Like, I wanted to keep it kind of equal. And then we are going to move on to the shaker portion. So this is an acetate sheet that's actually from some packaging. So I like to keep it to reduce, reuse, and recycle. But I make sure to wipe it with a baby wipe and then come in with a paper towel to dry it, just to make sure there's not any gunk or kind of dust or residual things on there. Because there's nothing worse than assembling a card and then realizing there's gunk on your window plastic. And then I am going to cut that down to just under 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and pardon the wiggling, I really had to get that to trim. Now we are going to come in with the Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle frames. So I like to use the biggest frame, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I die cut a bunch of these. So there's actually 7 here. And then I am just going to use my art glitter glue, which has become my new go-to favorite, but any strong liquid adhesive would work, and I am literally just going to stack those up. So depending on how much you're putting in your shaker card, you may be able to get away with more or less of these. I prefer to do it this way rather than foam tape, especially because this card is going through the mail, so I want it to have some structure and not get smushed. So I only stack 5 at first, but you will see I do add a 6th later. I did want to put seed beads in the shaker, so I am just taking the ones that I wanted to use and testing the size to make sure that they have enough wiggle room. And with that, I was happy, so we are going to move on to assembling the card. So I just used some double-sided adhesive to stick down my watercolor panel to the card base, and I did use strong adhesive because there was some warping because this is watercolor. Actually, what I've been doing is putting this in my mini MISTI to line things up because I am horrible at lining things up. So by butting it up to the corner there, I know that I'm going to get it exactly in the position that I want it to be and not ruin my card. So I am taking some little things from Lucy's cards, and this is one of her shaker mixes, which I absolutely love, and I am just adding a bunch of that into there. I also added some pearls and gems, which are also from Lucy's cards, and I am just taking my acetate sheet and making sure that they have enough room to kind of wiggle around. At this point, I got a bit carried away, got heavy-handed with the beads I was going to add, and I accidentally added the whole package, but I stuck with it. And you know what? It turned out. So sometimes you make mistakes and you roll with it. At this point, though, I did decide that I had put in more than I intended, so I did add another one of the frames, so that makes it 6 frames. And then we are going to add the acetate to the top of that. You could definitely do this with some liquid glue, but if it squishes out, it can sometimes trap some of the sequins towards the side. So I prefer to use double-sided tape because I'm a little bit accident prone when it comes to that sort of thing. And then I am going to peel off the backing and stick down my acetate, and here comes the magic. Oh, I love shaker cards, especially these full panel ones. They're so fun. I am taking my last frame and I'm going to glue that on top just to hide the adhesive and make it look all nice and finished. And then I'm going to take my T-ruler and just make sure that that sentiment is super straight. And then I am going to glue down the little nurse, which I colored to look like my friend Phoebe, who this card is going to. And that is the final card. I am super happy with how it turned out. I absolutely love how full the shaker card is, and I love making shaker cards like this. I think it's so fun for the person who's opening it. I know it might be a little bit more work than using foam tape, but I really like the results and like making shaker cards this way. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching this video. I appreciate the time that you spend here with me. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at Candoodle Creations, and please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!